As my social media feed has been inundated with people posting pictures of their sukkahs this week, including my son Zev, who made a little Minecraft sukkah for a competition right on his Minecraft account. I'm glad he's finally putting it to good use. I'm reminded that the holiday of Sukkot today is a holiday that is increasingly rising in stock as far as popularity among the American Jewish community. Today, I want to talk a little bit about why I think that's the case. And I have two reasons I want to share with everyone this Shabbat. The first reason is cynical, and the second reason I call practical. First, for the cynical reason. I think that in some ways, the reason that Sukkot is rising in popularity is because it has found a way to merge all that Americans love about Halloween and Christmas, and to wrap it into one popular Jewish holiday. I want to say that there's no judgment in that statement. It just is. Each year, my non-Jewish neighbor and I have a running joke with each other. He laughs at me when he sees me schlepping all these big poles out of the basement, carrying them up to the deck, and then placing them and building a sukkah. 2 months later, I laugh at him when I see him with a huge tree and him dragging it inside each year from outside his pickup truck. In its historic origins, many of us in this room know that the American Thanksgiving originated in the Jewish holiday of Sukkot. But when it comes to the modern holiday of Sukkot that we celebrate here in the United States, there's little question that it resembles both Halloween and Christmas, and there's no small amount of irony in that fact. Jews don't use ornaments in our sukkah, but guess what? We decorate them. And because it's a fall holiday that celebrates the harvest, which Sukkot did in ancient Israel, how do we decorate our sukkahs in America? Pumpkins, gourds, all of the things that people use to decorate their homes with for Halloween. In fairness to, by the way, the American Jewish community, if you go to ultra-Orthodox communities in Israel, you will see what are called Nerot Sukkah, sukkah lights, all around the different walls of Sukkot, right? And of course, what are these sukkah lights? Christmas lights, right? What we would call Christmas lights. On Sukkot, we don't give out candy to our neighbors, but we do a step better. We invite our neighbors into our homes. We even symbolically invite our ancestors of the past right into our homes to join us. We call that Ushpizin, although recently I heard it called Ushpizum in honor of everything that's taking place this year. Honestly, all Sukkot seems to be missing from having it be Christmas is a good Sukkot carol, which for the record, by the way, there are no good Sukkot songs out there. And so Sukkot has come, as I began by saying this morning, perhaps a little cynically, for these reasons, the perfect holiday for American Jews who are looking to fill a void around October or November to practice in their homes. And yet, without being so cynical, I'd like to point out that there is also, I believe, a second and a more pragmatic reason that Sukkot has risen in popularity for American Jews and Jews all over the world. And I believe this has to do with the total flexibility surrounding the observance of the holiday of Sukkot itself. And let's recognize that for a moment. That's very unusual. Because when it comes to observing Jewish holidays, in general, what's the last thing we come to think about? Flexibility. Think of all of those rules that were handed down by those crazy rabbis. On Passover, we're told that we need to clean our house a certain way. We're told we need to eat a specific amount of matzah. And if we don't eat that specific amount of matzah, then what? Then our Seder isn't considered a kosher Seder. On Yom Kippur, we're told that we have to eat certain things, rather not eat certain things. We're not supposed to wear certain things. Even on Purim, what do our rabbis tell us? there's a certain amount of booze we're supposed to drink, right? A minimum requirement for booze. That's how inflexible our sages of blessed memory were. But then we come to Sukkot. And what do we find? Well, one of my favorite traditions about the sukkah is that you can build it with either 2.5, 3, or 4 walls. That's a lot of flexibility. By the way, those walls of the sukkah can be made out of what? Just about anything. PVC, metal, wood, or the like. The schach, we're told, the roof of the sukkah, has to be made out of something that has been detached, that grew out of the ground. But we're not given a particular bush or a tree that we're told we have to use. That's why if you go to California, you'll see schach made out of palm fronds. If you go to Florida or New Orleans, you'll see palm schach roofs made out of sugar cane. There's nothing that says any particular tree has to be used. I've seen Sukkot, by the way, that have been built anywhere, just about anywhere. If you go to Tel Aviv, you'll see these little bicycles driven by ultra-Orthodox Jews with little sukkahs attached to the back. If you go to New York, you'll see pickup trucks with sukkahs on the back. You can build it on your deck or your driveway as long as it's not covered by a tree. There aren't, by the way, also any special foods that we're told that we have to eat on Sukkot. Not having a special food, that's like sacrilege for Jews. How can we not have a special food that has to do with Sukkot? It is therefore, in my humble opinion, its flexibility that gives Sukkot its observance and the fact that it's growing more popular. In many ways, Sukkot, which comes 5 days after Yom Kippur, is the antidote for Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a holiday all about rigidity. Not only a week later on Sukkot, we demonstrate Judaism's flexibility. Real Jews, Jews most of the year, are not Yom Kippur Jews. We're Sukkot Jews. We're flexible Jews. We're Jews who use palm fronds and sugar cane and pumpkins and Christmas lights to allow our holidays to come alive. In our time of coronavirus, Sukkot challenges all of us to remember the importance of flexibility and adaptability in keeping our Jewish traditions alive. Certainly, our just finishing Yom Kippur reminds us that there is a space and there is a time for rigidity. But we call Sukkot Zman Simchatenu, the time of our joy, which reminds us that to be a little bit joyful means also to be a little bit flexible. This year I was struck by how people adjusted the building of their Sukkot to meet the times of the coronavirus. We have lattice walls being used. In my own sukkah this year, instead of 4 walls, we built 2.5. At our shul, you may have noticed we have our drive-through sukkah outside, where you can drive your car through the sukkah, say the blessing, leishev basukkah. It is, in fact, a kosher sukkah. One of the walls, right, comes through. You can kind of drive through it, and then it comes back down. And I want to invite all of you who may be, unless you're in South Africa or Israel, in which case you may be out of luck, but any of you who may be here this morning or watching from home to take the opportunity to socially distance yourself and drive through our drive-through sukkah at any time. That's the flexibility of Sukkot, that you can turn your sukkah into a garage to park your car. And yes, while I know on some level, my revelation that modern Sukkot can feel a little bit like Halloween meets Christmas, can feel a little bit disconcerting for Jews, this too, in some part, we must recognize is part of our flexibility. And it's a flexibility, I might add, that has been continuing to make our holidays relevant and meaningful not for 50 years, 100 years, but for 1,000 years in the Jewish world. Some of you may remember that on Shavuot, I gave a sermon about how Shavuot in Israel is being reinvented as what is called Chag HaMayim, the holiday of water. And so if you go to Israel, you will see in a non-corona time, in downtown Tel Aviv, water slides all over Tel Aviv and slip-and-slides. And if you go to ultra-Orthodox communities of Bnei Brak on Shavuot, little children are shooting each other with water guns and dumping buckets of water on their head. We're talking about, God willing, by the way, doing that here this summer. Should everything be safe? Who knows, maybe. Well, I hate to tell you an interesting fact, but nowhere in our Torah does it say that Shavuot is Chag Hamayim, that Shavuot is the holiday of water. The reason that Israelis do this is because Jews who immigrated from Morocco and North Africa adopted the customs of a Moroccan Berber water drawing festival, a non-Jewish holiday. And do I even need to mention, by the way, how Hanukkah is the most flexible Jewish holiday in the history of all time? As Jews, Sukkot reminds us that the secrets to our holidays, the survival of our way of life, and I want to say it doesn't matter if you're Orthodox, conservative, Reform, unaffiliated, other, the secret to our observance of our holidays has always been flexibility. Today, if you go online, you can buy a prefab, no tool necessary, in-the-box sukkah that you can assemble in your home. If you go to Israel, you can order an air-filled sukkah that inflates and deflates, that looks like a moon bounce. And who knows, maybe someday Chaim will even buy a moon bounce sukkah to add to our collection. In the meanwhile, though, this Shabbat and this Chag, I want to remind all of your families and wish you a Zman Shel Simcha, a time of great joy this Sukkot. May we, following a time of great rigidity on the Jewish calendar, our observance of Yom Kippur, celebrate this week the flexibility of life and all that Sukkot brings to our families. Chag Sameach v'Shabbat Shalom.